You're not suffering because you lost something. You're suffering because you believed it was yours, and that belief might be the real thing destroying your peace. Think about it. What if the pain you feel right now has nothing to do with what happened, and everything to do with what you thought should never change? Because the truth is this: you were never the owner of anything. Not your relationships, not your achievements, not even your own body. And the moment you truly see that, something inside you begins to loosen. Suffering doesn't disappear instantly, but it starts to lose its grip. There's a truth almost no one ever taught you. It's so simple it sounds wrong at first. But if you actually understand it, it can change the way you experience everything. Most of what you call suffering is not created by the world. It's created by your mind. Sadness, anger, despair. They all grow from the same root. The belief that something belongs to you. That a person is yours. That a moment should last forever. That life should follow your expectations. But reality doesn't work like that. Right now, as you listen to this, your body is aging. People are changing. Everything around you is moving. Nothing is standing still. So the question becomes unavoidable. Will you keep fighting what is inevitable? Or will you finally learn how to let go? More than 2,500 years ago, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama asked the same question. He had everything: wealth, comfort, family, and still, something felt deeply wrong. So he walked away from all of it, sat beneath a tree, and refused to get up until he understood one thing. Why do human beings suffer? After days of deep silence, he reached a conclusion that would echo for centuries. Suffering is not caused by pain. It is caused by attachment. It's not what happens that breaks you. It's your insistence that things should not change. Buddha called this suffering dukkha, the frustration that arises when we try to hold on to what is, by nature, always passing. The entire universe works through movement. Everything is born, grows, and ends. And we suffer because we want to freeze what cannot be frozen. Think about the last time you truly suffered. It was not because of a cut on your skin. It was because someone walked away. Because a relationship ended. Because you lost a job. Because a friend disappointed you. Because a plan that seemed right went wrong. But look closely. It was not just the event that hurt. It was the idea that it should have continued, that it was yours, that it was under your control. Imagine I lend you something for one day. You use it, enjoy it, and give it back at the end. There is no drama because you always knew it was temporary. Now imagine I give it to you and tell you it is yours. You become attached, create identity around it, build memories. Years later, it disappears. The pain is much greater. Not because the object changed, but because your relationship with it changed. That is how everything in life works. Your health is not yours. Your youth is not yours. Your relationships are not yours. Your money is not yours. And even your mental stability is not permanent. Everything is temporary. Everything is on loan. The problem is that almost no one lives as if they know this. We act as though we are eternal, as though the people we love will never leave, as though we have a guarantee that good moments will repeat forever. But reality does not work that way. It does not negotiate with our expectations. It simply follows its flow. Time does not move slowly. It is taking everything away right now. While you breathe, your body is not something fixed. It is a process. Skin renews, cells die, others are born. People change their minds, change cities, change feelings. Places that seem eternal today will not exist in the same way tomorrow. And you are also in motion, even if you do not notice it. The idea of permanence is comforting, but it is only that, an idea. Buddha taught that everything that exists carries 3 invisible marks. The first is impermanence. Nothing stays the same, not even for an instant. Your hand may seem still, solid, stable, but inside there is constant activity. Your body is more like a river than a statue. In a few years, practically every physical part of what you call me will have been replaced. So who exactly is this fixed self that you are trying to protect? The second mark is suffering, or more precisely, constant dissatisfaction. Everything that begins already carries the possibility of ending. The flower that blooms is already on its way to fading. Today's smile is already moving toward memory. A love that begins with intensity also quietly carries the possibility of changing. That is the natural way of life. It is not that life is cruel. It simply follows its natural flow. And there is a third mark as well, the absence of a permanent self. This is the most uncomfortable one, because it dismantles the story we tell ourselves about who we are. You believe you are the same person you were 10 years ago, but are you really? Your thoughts changed, your fears changed, your desires changed. The child you once were no longer exists. The teenager no longer exists either. Not even the version of you from yesterday is intact. So when you say, "This is mine," who is this I that is claiming ownership? Many people confuse this view with coldness. They think accepting impermanence means becoming distant, emotionless. But it is exactly the opposite. To detach does not mean to stop feeling. It means to feel without trying to imprison. It means to love knowing that you cannot lock anyone inside a drawer called forever. It means living with intensity, but with open hands. There is an ancient story that illustrates this. When the wife of an Eastern sage died, his friends expected to find him devastated. Instead, they found him sitting and playing music, calm and serene. They were outraged. "Didn't you love your wife?" he answered simply. "Before she was born, she did not exist. Then she appeared, lived, shared a time with me, and now she has returned to her previous state." Why fight against the natural cycle of things? He did not deny the initial sadness. He simply did not turn loss into rebellion against reality. He understood that no one belongs to anyone, that every encounter is just an interval in the flow of the universe. Suffering is human. Rebelling against the inevitable is optional. That raises an unavoidable question. If everything is temporary, then what is the point of living? Why build anything? Why love? Here lies a common mistake, thinking that if nothing is permanent, then nothing has value. But it is exactly the opposite. Value is born from finitude. If you knew that tomorrow would be your last day with someone you love, would you waste time with petty pride, stay trapped in useless arguments, or be fully present with them? Awareness of the end makes every moment more precious. To love is not to love less. It is to love with greater clarity. It is to understand that the moment cannot be stored, only lived. If nothing is truly yours forever, then what exactly are you afraid of losing? There are only experiences that arrive and leave, people who cross your path and move on, situations that form and dissolve, and you remain as the one who observes, not as the owner, not as the controller, but as the conscious witness of the flow. When this perception matures, something changes. You keep living, creating, relating, but without the anxiety of trying to freeze what was born to move. Epictetus took this idea to an even more radical level. He was not an emperor, nor a powerful man. He was a slave for much of his life. He did not decide where to live, what to eat, or where to go. His body belonged to another man. And yet he discovered something that even free people often fail to see. Even chained on the outside, he was free on the inside. A phrase of his has crossed centuries. It is not events that disturb us, but the way we interpret them. Think carefully about that. It is not separation that destroys you, it is the story you tell yourself about it. It is not death that steals your peace. It is the rebellion against the fact that it happened. It is not unemployment that consumes you. It is the idea that it should never have happened to you, These should-nots are invisible bars. They are expectations you impose on reality, as if the world had an obligation to obey your plans. When life does not match them, you suffer. Not because life is cruel, but because you believed it had to follow the script you wrote. Modern science confirms something very similar. Brain scans show that emotional pain activates regions similar to physical pain. But there is one crucial detail. Emotional pain depends on interpretation. Two people can face the same loss. One collapses, the other reorganizes and moves on. What changes? The meaning assigned to the event. Buddha explained this with a simple image. Imagine you are struck by an arrow. It will hurt. That is inevitable. That is the first arrow. Now imagine that, on top of the physical pain, you start repeating to yourself, "Why me? This is not fair. Life owes me something better." That is the second arrow, and it often hurts far more than the first. Most people live getting hit by that second arrow all the time. They relive situations, feed resentment, reinforce guilt, repeat old wounds. Then they ask, "Why does life feel so heavy?" But life itself is neutral. What feels heavy is the resistance to what has already happened. So what is the way out? How do you break this cycle? Buddha presented a structured path, but at its center there is something very direct: presence. Being here now, without fighting what is, without adding judgments, without building unnecessary stories. It sounds simple, but try it for a moment. Close your eyes and observe your breath. Do not control it, just observe. In a few seconds, your mind will already drift away. It will remember something that happened yesterday. It will anticipate something that might happen tomorrow. The mind escapes the present because it has been conditioned to live in the past or the future. But suffering almost always lives in those two places, in what was or what might be. Rarely is it in the now. While you are listening to these words, in this exact moment, is there any suffering happening? There may be physical discomfort, tiredness, hunger. But that intense mental pain usually appears when your mind starts wandering. That is why meditation is not just relaxation. It is training. It is learning to observe thoughts without confusing yourself with them. You begin to watch your ideas the way you watch clouds passing through the sky. They appear, change shape, and disappear. And something in you remains. That something is the most important part. You are not the anxious thought. You are not the sad emotion. You are that which perceives anxiety and perceives sadness. This difference changes everything. Because when you understand that you are not your thoughts, you stop defining yourself by them. If someone criticizes you, it becomes just a sound interpreted by your mind, not an attack on your essence. If something is lost, you understand that it was never a permanent possession. If someone leaves, you feel it, but you do not destroy yourself. Other people's opinions become just another passing phenomenon in your experience. Various spiritual traditions arrived at this same conclusion through different paths. The names change, the metaphors change, but the essence is the same. There is within you a consciousness that observes everything. And the more you connect with that part, the less you are dragged around by every thought that appears. In Hinduism, it is called Atman, the observing consciousness. In Buddhism, it is spoken of as Buddha nature. In Taoism, as the Tao that cannot be described in words. In Christian mysticism, as the divine spark. Different languages, different cultures, but all pointing to the same experience. There is something in you that witnesses everything. There is a part of you that saw the child you were, saw the teenager, sees the adult you are today. Thoughts changed, emotions changed, beliefs changed, but there is a silent presence that remained, watching it all. It does not begin when you are born, and it does not disappear when something changes. When you begin to identify with this presence, Attachment loses its meaning because what is permanent does not need to cling to what is temporary. But be careful, this does not mean becoming indifferent or escaping responsibility. It is not about abandoning people, and it is not about isolating yourself from the world. It is about changing the way you relate to it. It is about acting from understanding, not lack. Loving by choice, not by fear of being alone. There is a huge difference between loving because you need someone and loving because you want to share. Love based on need says, "I need you to feel complete." It sounds romantic, but it is emotional dependency under another name. When the other person changes, pulls away, or simply does not meet your expectations, you feel as if you lost a part of yourself. Because you turned the other person into a support for your identity. Free love works differently. It does not demand, it does not imprison, it does not bargain for existence in exchange for affection. It loves because loving is natural, not because it expects something back. Khalil Gibran wrote this beautifully, saying that two people can walk together without merging, that they can share life without becoming each other's property. Two strings, vibrating in the same music, but each keeping its own tension. That is the paradox. When you let go, you go deeper. When you stop trying to control, the relationship becomes lighter. When you stop trying to possess, you begin to enjoy more. Because now you are no longer living in constant fear of losing. Stop for a moment and be honest. What do you feel you could not lose today? A person, a job, financial stability, an image you built of yourself, an old dream. Imagine for a few seconds that it disappears. What would remain? Most of the time, the scenario your mind paints is more frightening than reality would be. Fear creates exaggerated stories. Loss hurts, of course, but it is rarely the apocalypse we imagine. Human beings adapt far more than they believe they can. The Stoics had an exercise for this. Before sleeping, they imagined losing something valuable. They visualized it in detail, felt the impact. Then they realized they were still there, breathing, alive. This practice had two effects. It strengthened them emotionally and awakened gratitude for what was still present. Not because it was a permanent possession, but because it was there for now. That is the difference of true detachment. You do not become distant, you become more aware. You love with more consciousness, live with more intensity, because you know every moment is unique. Every encounter is temporary. Every experience is an interval that will not repeat itself. When you understand this, you do not love less, you love better. You do not enjoy less, you enjoy with clarity, because you know nothing is property. Everything is a temporary opportunity to live. When you watch a sunset, you do not try to put it in a jar. You do not fight the sky because the colors are fading. You simply watch while it happens. There is no despair when it ends, because you already knew it was passing. Imagine living like that with everything, appreciating it while it is present, without demanding that it stay. That does not mean becoming someone without desires. It is natural to prefer health over sickness, companionship over loneliness, stability over chaos. Preferences are part of life. The problem begins when preference becomes a condition. When you start saying, "Without this, I cannot be happy." When your peace depends entirely on something you do not control. Look at your hands. If they are closed, you cannot receive anything new. If they are open, everything can come and go without resistance. Detachment is this: living with open hands. You are not a safe trying to protect every single thing. You are a space through which experiences pass. When this understanding stops being just theory and becomes lived experience, something changes deeply. Fear loses space. Anxiety decreases because there is nothing left to defend at all costs, no rigid image to maintain. There is only this moment, this breath, this experience happening now, and that is enough, because it is real. Reality accepted as it is brings a freedom that no fantasy of control can offer. No external achievement surpasses the peace of not needing things to be different from what they are. This is the essence of Buddha's teaching. The problem was never having too little, it was clinging too much. It was not the lack of control, it was the illusion that control ever existed. The feeling of wholeness did not depend on accumulating or holding on, or proving anything to anyone. You were already whole. Now that you understand this, the decision is yours. Will you keep living with closed hands, or will you finally make space for life to flow? If you made it this far, you're part of the small percentage of people who truly want to change their lives. Leave a like, subscribe, and share this video so that, just like you, more people can develop a sovereign mindset. Don't miss the next video. It could be your first step toward becoming truly sovereign.